So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in this month's series of how can we connect to our ancestors in a way that we can get their support, blessings, and love for us to take our life forward in a better way and claim our life in the lineage. So, this month is around that. And also, like we discussed last week, this month has 15 days of Pitru Paksha in India, which is a period or a phase of time in the year when we connect with our ancestors. So I think it's the right time and the most congenial time for us to connect to our lineage and our ancestry. So talking about this, in the last week, we spoke about how can we identify patterns running in the family and how are these patterns affecting us in our current life in a way that there are patterns running in the father's side of the family, or there are patterns running in the mother's side, or there is something which is, very different in both sides of the lineage and hence has an effect on your life. So last week was more around becoming aware of the limiting beliefs or becoming aware of the patterns and becoming aware of the areas of life where you might have felt that you are living in the impact of your ancestry. I'm sure if you all have sat with yourself and made the family tree, like the way we had asked you to do it, you would have identified certain patterns. You might have identified certain people that you associate with, and hence have carried their beliefs or ways of life very unconsciously. So if you haven't, then I would suggest that you do that so that you will benefit out of the future webinars or the future series that we are talking of. Right? Yeah, Gayatri? Yeah. So today we would want to connect, or we would want you to become aware of what could be the possible blocks that you are carrying from your ancestry, which is not allowing you to live your life in a manner that is very fulfilling for yourself. So when we talk of blocks, evidently it is something that makes you feel either stuck or has restricted the movement of your life forward in a particular direction, right? While this talk is happening and even during the process, maybe you could connect to one area of your life that you feel that I am not able to have the movement the way I want, or I feel otherwise, but there is something very unconscious which I am carrying, which is not allowing me to move in the direction that I feel I want to move in life. Keeping that as a premise, if you listen to this entire thing and do the process, I'm sure by the end of today's webinar, you will go with more valuable insights for your own life. So when we talk of any area of life that we feel either a block or we feel that the movement is restricted, it might trace back to a person's limiting belief in the lineage. A family conscious which feels a particular way of that aspect. It might trace back to that there is a lot of abundance of movement in that area of life, but there is a block in you receiving it just from your parents. That could also be a situation. So how can you identify this block? For example, if I say that you feel there is no movement for me in my area of creating a career or creating wealth or creating a relationship, a spouse. If you are able to draw your family tree and sit with yourself, you might be aping either one of your ancestors, or you might be aping a relationship pattern of every relationship in the family, a little bit of it, and your core belief around it is very different. So it's like a clash. It's like something is coming to you through your genes, through your lineage, while your core belief around that is very different. So you are not feeling, the movement the way you want it. For example, there was a client who I was working with the last week, and he was feeling that the movement in his area of creating money for himself or wealth for himself was not happening the way he wanted it, or was not happening at the pace that he wanted. And it didn't even go back to a big ancestry. It just went back to his father, where his father believes in the thought that no, talent is more important, and just put in your talent into your work and the money will flow. And that's not what he felt. His father believed in the fact that, you should not aim for something very big. Whatever comes to you is something which is a blessing of the God or the blessing of your ancestors, and you need to be satisfied with it. While he is an extremely ambitious person who feels that he wants the wealth and the money to live his life in a particular way. So that kind of, limits the person to put his energies completely in the direction that he wants. Because consciously he might want A, but subconsciously his thoughts and his beliefs are taking him to minus A or taking him back, right? Or another destination B. So the focus and direction is not in the movement or is not in the aspect that he wants. So coming back to the three areas or three main places where you might find a block or you might find a limiting pattern is either one ancestor, one specific person whom you are following, a pattern in the lineage, or the flow from your parents is not, is not appropriate. There is a block over there in receiving it just from your parents. So when we talk of ancestry, it is not necessary that we just think of our grandparents and beyond them, but sometimes it's just the parents. And a lot of it can get blocked in that area also, in that place also. Yeah? Gayatri, would you like to add something?
Yeah. So I want to add that if you're sitting with an intention of creating something through, this webinar and finding a block, again, understand that if you identify the block, as Priya said, it might be coming from anywhere. It could be your own part who is so loyal to that kind of behavior or that kind of thought process. And it is loyal towards parents or grandparents or further generations unconsciously. So, when we are saying that we are looking at the block that we have received from our ancestors, we are not saying that they are to be blamed here.
Yeah.
So when you identify anything, either you will identify a particular block, a pattern which is running in your family, and now you feel that that is not working for you, and you might be intending that you want to release it. Or you might just sit with one aspect of your life and you be open about wherever it is the particular block in that aspect is coming from. And third place could be that you don't have anything on your mind specifically, and wherever your mind guides you when we do the process and whatever shows. But just sit in the process or any exercise through this webinar with an intention that it is about taking responsibility of your life because you want to live it the way you want it now. And it is not about blaming any ancestor. It is not about putting any responsibility there. Of course, they have the responsibility of their choices. But if you sit with the intention of putting the blame there that, oh, you were elder, so you should have known better, then that would not be a healing. That would be another layer of blame that would create some impact in your life. So I want to share that like a disclaimer because
Yeah.
no ancestor, no grandparent, or no parent will give their child anything burdensome intentionally. They are always doing that out of love. They are always doing best to their knowledge and best to their capacity. That might not be serving you today, and that's why you want to make a different choice. So when you sit in the process, when you draw the family tree, or you identify any block, or when we do the process today and you sit with that, sit with this awareness that I want to make my own choice with my own awareness. Yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah, Priya, do you want to add anything to
In this regard, only I would like to say something more that please understand that we carry ancestry of around 5 generations in our body. Okay. Now, there are certain beliefs that might have served some phases of life or some periods of time, but that does not necessarily have to, serve today. Was that wrong then? No. Is it wrong today? No. It is just that, on a lighter note, if I can say, you have versions to the same story or the same belief, right? I think it's time you go through an updation based on what you want out of your life and taking what was the best at that time. So it is not negating or throwing away everything. No. The intention of this month is not about disregarding the blessings, as Gayatri said, of our ancestors. No. It's that to connect to the love that they always had for us, but not blindly. There is uh, there's a word called as where you can segregate things and say, okay, this serves me and this serves me not, and this is supporting my growth and this is not. So if we can do, the word is discernment. So if there is a discernment, and if you can discern and segregate what works for you, what doesn't work for you, then I'm sure you'll be able to connect to the love that they always had for you. Yeah?
yes?
So in terms of understanding this as a concept, I think this is all that we have to share. Of course, there is the process after this, and there is a discussion also after that. We will not be recording the process, neither the discussion. It's going to be for this group and this close group only. So if any of you have anything after watching this, please do feel free to get in touch with us. Yeah, Gayatri, is there anything you want to add before we stop the recording?
I think I just want to say that those who are going to watch just the recording later on, for them, that after this, you just sit with yourself, take few moments, and if anything particularly comes to your mind, and you intuitively feel that this is an ancestral pattern that you are carrying, then at least acknowledge that. Even if you're missing the process, you may choose to contact us later, but till then, acknowledge whatever comes to your awareness. That this is how I'm feeling, or this is a thought that I'm getting, that I'm carrying some kind of belief, some kind of behavior from a particular ancestor. So acknowledging will also make it conscious, and whatever that becomes conscious to us, starts losing its grip on us. That's the first step. Yeah. And as Priya said, that if you chose to carry it in the past, whether consciously or unconsciously, was it wrong? And you are choosing a different way today, is it wrong? So both are right. So when you identify that in the past you were doing different thing which you want to change today, be compassionate with yourself. Right? I think we have seen many clients, when they go through these processes, they feel little angry on themselves, or they judge their past self, saying that, oh, how did I do this? How could I do
Or even,
this?
yeah, or even there could be a dilemma out of loyalty.
Yeah.
Am I being disloyal if I choose something different?
So
In
be
this
patient
regard, I
with
would like
yourself.
to share one small constellation, a part of the constellation actually, which came up as an ancestral pattern for our client. And when the client, the representative actually walked up to the ancestor and told the ancestor that, you know what, this is what is happening in my life. And the ancestor said, I don't want you to carry it. So I'm sure no ancestor is going to be, feel disregarded if you choose differently, if it is from a space of love.
So stay committed to, uh, instead of anti the pattern,
Yes.
standing for pro how you want to live.
Yeah.
So we are not standing in opposition to anything. We are just standing on the side of what we want to choose. And that's how we include, that's how we accept what has been and what it is now and what is to come. So whenever you do this process, and if you identify anything, make sure that you sit with this attitude. So I think that's it.
Yeah.
So I'll stop the recording.